publishers have to market as well. So what is the one advantage that traditional publishing has left over self-publishing? There's only one, and that is distribution. And that's a big one. It's a huge one. Because you can't get your self-published book into Barnes & Noble across the country, maybe in your hometown. But you can't go door to door to every Barnes & Noble and convince one at a time to carry your book. If self-publishers ever figure that one out, traditional publishers are done. Now, traditional publishers would shoot me in the head for saying that, but it's the truth. If they get that one nailed, that's it. Because then we're saying, what do we need you for? You take all of our rights, you tell us what the title's going to be, you tell us what's going to be on the cover, you give us $1 a book, hello, while I'm out marketing and running around the countryside trying to sell these things, and just about breaking even. What's wrong with this picture? So of course there's a respectability to being traditionally published, and I love that. And I love the way my publishers treat me. They're wonderful people. And I'm not ready to jump ship at this point, but I've got my ear to the ground and I'm listening, because things are changing now.
Kathy, I attended one of your sessions last year, and
I thought you looked familiar.
And actually, thank you for praying. I mentioned to Sam here, I said, oh, I remember Kathy last time. She prayed before we started, and here you started again. You're the only one so far, but that's not what my question is about. I noticed last year there were not as many speaking about self-publishing. Every place I've been today is speaking about publishing. Those I belong to a Baja group in Mexico, where I live.
Oh.
And they're all using primarily CreateSpace. You didn't mention that. Westbo I was very interested in last year, obviously because of their participation.
Right.
Until I began hearing about CreateSpace, and it was, in today's economy, it seemed to be that dollar once again, where they were able to, do you have any thoughts one way or the other? Are you familiar much with?
I think if you're tech savvy, it's a great way to go. Now for somebody like me, you know, I'm doing good to get the computer turned on and off. I learn just what I have to learn to do just what I have to do. I don't go beyond that. But and if I have to hire somebody to do it, maybe it's not such a great idea. But if you can do that yourself, by all means. And there's other places like CreateSpace. That's one of many. Author House, who did this, is working on one called WordClay, and I think it's going to be the same type of thing where you can pretty much go in and do it the whole thing yourself. So there are so many options. You watch, they'll just keep popping up. Every year you go to a conference, every different conference you go to, you're going to hear more about the options, about the self-publishing. It's all going to just, sooner or later, going to be on a level playing field. And like I said, it's all about distribution right now.
All right. So do you think Barnes & Nobles, they're going to be less, they're going to be shutting down stores in the next 5 to 10 years?
I hope not, but because I love to go to them, and I love to sit in a bookstore, and I love to hold a book in my hand and have a cup of tea, you know, and there's something about that. But I don't know how many young people feel that's necessary. That's what concerns me. I think if we've been in love with books for many years, I don't think we're gonna go down with a fight. We're not gonna give up our books without a fight. But I hear from young people all the time saying, are your books on Kindle? Are your books on Nook? Can I get your books on? You know, and one young lady wrote to me, and it made perfect sense. I hadn't thought of that. She said, I'm leaving for college. I can't take 8,000 books with me in boxes. I can take my Kindle. So if your books are on Kindle, I'll buy them. Well, that tells you something. And this is something I keep telling the publishers over, and most of them have gotten on board, and my one publisher, the only one that hasn't, is just about ready to release everything on Kindle very soon. They've all had to get on board with that. So Kindle, Nook, whatever, there are different, or you know, maybe you have an iPad or something. There are so many ways to read books now. And it may not be as romantic. I want to smell the books when they come. When the UPS guy comes with my crate of new books, I'm like, oh, I just love them so much. You know? Like,
do they do photos on like Kindle as well? Is that what you would be calling ebooks?
Some of them, but you can just put an ebook on your website. I mean, you can do that as long as I would advise you to get it copyrighted and do all that sort of thing. But yeah, you can just do that and sell it for a couple of bucks. There's no reason you can't do that. Once you've actually written the book and you put it up there and it's got a copyright, why not? So if you make a couple dollars each time, what if you sell 1,000 books? It's well worth it, right?
What's this with copywriting? My impression was that as soon as you wrote it, put it somewhere, it's copyrighted.
Legally, technically it is, yes, you're absolutely right. The minute you put an idea to paper, it's legally copyrighted. It's just that, I always advise you to do it if it's that kind of thing where you're putting it online, because there's so many, not that you can really stop them, even if you copyright, they can still take it, but it gives you a leg to stand on anyway. Yeah, it's just, the internet has changed so many things for the good, but so many things the other way too. I mean, it opens up so many avenues of people stealing things. So that's something.
You're registering.
If I were going to put an ebook online anywhere, I would register it first, just because.
Okay.
Just myself, yeah.
What are kind of the basic steps if you just wanted to have an ebook? Because I know you need ISBN number, you need some cover art, you need the right format for the Nook and Kindle and these things.
Well, okay, here's the thing, that you're talking to someone who's very ignorant of this as far as the actual doing it. I know theoretically all about how good a thing it is to do, but I couldn't tell you how to do it. My books have been put on Kindle or Nook by my publisher, because they're a traditional publisher. And all those self-publishers will do it for you too, for an extra, charge or whatever. And for me, if I had now this particular book, I was going to pay the publisher a small fee to put it on for me, but somebody owed me a favor who was, a genius in doing that sort of thing. He goes, I have no problem, I'll get it on for you, and he did for nothing. So there are some hoops to jump through, but I think they're relatively minor, because the people who do understand how to do that, of course, they tell me it's simple. It may be simple to them, it isn't to me. But if you know, or if you have a teenage friend, they'll figure it out in no time. So basically, I've been told it's not that difficult. It's just that I don't understand it.
But are there any steps that we need to be aware of that maybe you hadn't thought of in that process?
Not that I've run across. I know I have no trouble at all with the ones that have been put on Nook and Kindle by my other publishers. Not that I know of, and again, that's a big, stipulation. We don't know for sure. And I have run into people who've stolen things. They've had things stolen. They said, yeah, somebody's offering my book on their website. They just took it off of mine and they put it on theirs, and they're offering it for $2 a piece on their website. I don't know how you stop that. The piracy is a big thing, whether it's with music, with movies, and now with books, because books are online. It was a little bit harder when it was just hard copies. We're now in the same boat with people with movies and music that get pirated all the time, and it's very frustrating. I don't know what you do about it, really.
Somebody had a good point in another class. They said set up Google alerts
Yes.
with your book title, so
Yes.
at least you'll know
At least
you're on
you
the
know.
internet when
Yes.
it comes up, and then you have to go police it.
Someone even took one of my books and downloaded it and then changed the name and made it a satire out of it, and just totally rearranged it. But it was still recognizable as my book, but it was embarrassing. It was so bad, and I mean, we finally did get the lawyer from the publishing house to get them to take it down. But it may not have been a big deal. I probably could have ignored it. I don't know if 8 people saw it, for all I know. But all of this is stuff that we're all approaching now from a new standpoint. It's something that, 10, 20 years ago, nobody dealt with this. And now all of a sudden, there it is. So, yeah.
Well, Google is responsible. A few years ago, they put every book online that they just swiped everything off of Amazon. So 2 of my books are on the Google webpage. The entire books, except I think they don't do the last chapter. I'm not sure about that. Anyone who wants to read them free can. I don't know if they can download them or not.
Yeah.
There was a huge class action suit. I don't know
Yes.
what happened.
It's
But
still
if
in
you're a
process.
famous writer, whatever, this is a problem. If you're like me, it's who cares? I'm out there.
Yeah.
It's just more publicity for me.
Right.
At this stage, I don't care. But they had a lot of audacity to just digitalize every book
Every book
that
had.
they just swiped it, literally.
Yeah, they
Amazon.
have to, the only reason they haven't been slammed so far is that they always leave out at least a chapter or more, whether it's the last or any chapter. They leave out something, and then they say, well, we didn't publish the whole thing. Well, they might as well. And all we can do is hope that makes the person who reads it say, oh man, I want to go get the book to find out the missing chapter. Maybe
Right.
they will, maybe they'll go and sit in the library and read it, so.
Libraries won't exist much longer.
Yeah, that's sad, but yeah.
How long did it take you to build your platform?
From the time that the
Yeah, when you
editor
made
sat
that.
me down, and I would say a couple of years, 2, 3 years, to really make it a strong one, to where people now recognize my name, and, yeah.
So we don't get frustrated after 4 months?
No,
Okay.
no, and I'm still working on it, I still
Yeah.
build it all the time. But 2 to 3 years to where it was strong enough to where I could start sending proposals out again, and now I have more contracts than I know what to do with. Because now they're saying, okay, we used to know you can write, now we know you can sell, okay, let's talk. So, yeah.
You mentioned like with Westbo, you work with them and write your book and everything. If the sales become respectable,
Right.
then maybe perhaps Thomas Nelson will take a look at what is respectable. Any ballpark figure there?
Well, yeah, it would be ballpark, believe me, but, and it would, a lot would depend over the period of time. I mean, if somebody would come up to me and say, I sold 2,000 copies of my self-published book. Well, if you did that in a couple of months, I'm impressed. If you did that over 10 years, not so much, There's nothing wrong with that, but it's probably not going to grab a traditional publisher's attention. So I'm thinking, the critical time that they talk about with the new book that's released through a traditional publisher, the first 90 days. If you're not selling something after the first 90 days, they're going to quit pushing it as far as major advertising. They may not put it out of print that quick, but it's not going to be at the top of their hot button list anymore. So you want to be geared up. I mean, the first night before the book comes out, 30 to 60 days before, I've got my video about the book up on my website. I've got it on YouTube. I've got it just everywhere I can, Facebook, everywhere you can think of. I've got people coming and saying, hey, come on, you sign up now, you buy it at a discount. If you'll come in and buy the pre-pub price, which if you get it at Amazon, it's always cheaper before it comes out, I'll send you a second book free if you send me a facsimile of your receipt without your credit card number or whatever. I'll send you a second copy free. I offer all sorts of things to get people
How
buying.
can you make money if you're giving a whole book away?
Well, you don't in the
It's a
beginning.
smaller amount of money.
Yeah, it's investing to make some is what it amounts to, and I'm considering that part of my investment from my advance. I've got that to work with. But it's just like if I see my numbers on Amazon go through the floor. It's like, okay, my new book is down to 1 million. This is not good. Okay, I order a couple copies. I buy my own books because number one, I get free shipping because I have a Prime account, Amazon Prime. I'm going to get a royalty off of that book, and then I'm going to turn around and sell it at a conference. And I just helped my numbers, which helps me sell more books. So those are types that you make. Like they say, the old saying goes, you spend money to make money. You have to invest. I used to make the mistake years ago the way it was. I wrote the book, I turned it in, and that was all I did was sit around and wait for the check to come. Well, pretty soon the checks don't come anymore. So you basically have to, and I even used to spend my advance. I get an advance, it's like fantastic. I'm going on vacation, I'll buy a car, whatever. Not anymore. And if the advance doesn't earn out, as they say, if they gave me an $8,000 advance and we only made $7,000, not so good. Never got any money on it. Spent it all on marketing and it didn't go anywhere. Sometimes it can still flop. But usually if you advanced it or invested it wisely in marketing, you're going to see a return. Because in addition to those videos that I get up ahead of time, I've got my blog tours lined up 3 to 6 months in advance. Right now I'm working on the ones for my 2 fall books that come out. I've already paid half up front, I pay the other half when they release.
What's the blog tour?
Okay, blog tour is, I don't think there's anybody here doing those today, but anyway, there are people who have a stable of bloggers, and I'm talking not bloggers with 3 followers, okay? They should have at least a couple hundred or more, hopefully more than that, followers. And they get maybe 20 bloggers lined up for the month of, well, I've got one starting on Monday for the second blog tour starting for the book that came out, People of the Book, last month. I ran one blog tour in April, I'm running another blog tour to hit different bloggers in May. Every day during the month of May, and my publisher has already sent out copies of the book to each blogger in advance so they can read the book. Then they go online and they post reviews about the book and interviews with me and giveaways of the book and ask people to leave comments, and they can write to me and do that sort of thing. It's anything to just create a buzz. That's the word. You want to create a buzz about your book. You want the video up there. You want the blog tours going. You want when people turn on the computer, you want them to see your book. I don't care if they're going to look up Roto-Rooter. You want your book to pop up there somehow, because even if that's not what they're looking for, people, it's shown, will purchase. If they walk into a bookstore and they go, oh, I've been hearing about that everywhere. I'm going to get that book. It's like, it's the same mentality that goes with